Well, what is going on YouTube? Welcome back to A Therapeutic Edge. Now, today on the table in front of us is something I have not had on the table for a very long time. This is a Kershaw. Now, I have had probably hundreds of Kershaws over the years. Before I was a knife collector, Kershaw made up a majority of the pocket knives that I owned because they were inexpensive and readily available. Of course, you'd pick one up at Big Five or at a sporting goods store. They were functional. They worked very well. But when I got into collecting, I stopped really sort of paying attention to Kershaw knives. However, this year they have released 2 or 3 models that really sort of caught my eye, this being one of them. The Kershaw Norad here is, very good. It isn't perfect. It is also almost $70, which is quite a bit for a Kershaw. But what do you get for your $70? Well, let's talk about that. You get a really beautiful D2 tool steel blade. I mean, this blade is fantastic. You get a steel frame lock with, I'm not going to say G10, but probably an FRN backspacer. You get a pocket clip that could teach other knife companies things about pocket clips. This knife slips in and out of the pocket so well. They used flat top screws back here, so there is nothing to interfere with this thing moving in and out of the pocket. It is comfortable. It is great with jeans. This is a really nice touch. It has these little carbon fiber inlays, and we will talk about those again in a minute. It has an interesting pivot. It really does. I think it's very pretty. It has a little tiny flipper that just works. You are going to want to keep your hands off the lock bar. At least with my large hands, if I apply pressure to the lock bar, it can be a little finicky to open. But if you keep your fingers off that lock bar, man, that flipper tab works every single time. And that's awesome because it's almost non-existent. See, I have my finger on the lock bar there. You got to watch that. It has a very large fuller, which is done out in what I'm guessing is gray, probably Duracoat or something like that. The rest of the blade is satin and silver and very nice. It has a little bit of jimping right here for your thumb, which works really well, but it's a little far back for my size hand. You can flick this thing open with this fuller, which is really very cool. It is running on ball bearings, which also is very cool. Look, this is a great Kershaw knife. Now, knowing what I know about Kai Industries and ZT and Kershaw, I assume, I don't know yet, that the D2 is done correctly. We will likely find out. That's one thing about this community we live in. Eventually, somebody's going to tear one of these apart and really give that a test. That's not going to be me. At $70 for this knife, I am completely happy with it just the way it is. It's very attractive. I mean, it really is a good-looking pocket knife. And I love that. I am so happy for Kershaw. I'm always kind of pulling for them. As someone who used their knives a lot when I was young and camping and being outdoors, having them come around and make what I think of, for sure in this case, and we'll see about the others, are some excellent pocket knives in sort of the mid-weight price range is really very cool. The pocket clip is ambidextrous. You have a nice spot right here, as you can see, to flip that over and carry this thing lefty. So there's some lefty love going on here, which is also very, very cool. Let's get some size comparisons out of the way. Here it is against the Rat Model 1, and as you can see, it is smaller than the Rat 1, but you get, if we line the blades up on the line, you get considerably more cutting, which is very nice. And here it is against the Benchmade Bug Out. And as you can see, it's larger than the Bug Out, but most things are. It fits beautifully in between these two knives. The specs on it are pretty respectable. If we line it up, you get 1, 2, 3.5, dead on 3.5 inches of cutting on 3.5 inches of D2 blade steel. The grip area, if we go from just behind this swell right here, is 1, 2, 3, just at 4 inches, 3 3/4 inches, which is As you can see, it comes right to the end of my pinky. I mean, it's a very, very nice grip. This rather large flat spot right here, you can choke up on that, although I don't recommend it. It does keep your hand a little bit away from the cutting surface, and some people prefer to be able to come very close, but you can if you're careful. I really enjoy this thing. Let's look at the overall length, shall we? It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, just shy of 8 inches in overall length. This is a great pocket knife, and for $67, I think, on Blade HQ right now, I can absolutely recommend it. D2 tool steel is a marvelous blade steel, if it's done correctly. And I have to assume, based on my experience with previous Kershaws and Kai in general, that it's likely done right. We'll find out, as I said, as we move along. The shape of the handle is, well, just straightforward and very comfortable, but there's some style points here. I did mention these carbon fiber inlays. They feel a lot like stickers, and that's kind of a bummer. I think I would have liked it if they'd have just left that alone or off, because these are the place where it's not done that well. You can feel the lip, and that's kind of a bummer, even on this one. I feel like eventually these are going to snag on things, but, you know, I feel like they're learning and growing as they go. They've definitely changed their modeling a little bit here, and hopefully maybe they'll release a version of this without the carbon fiber, and that will be even better. The back spacer, as I said, is probably GFN. It has some jimping on it. In fact, there's jimping all along the back here, which is reasonably smooth, but does definitely you can feel it in your palm when you lock down. And if you were going to get into a gas station fight, which, again, I don't recommend, this would be a really good tool for that. In the reverse hammer grip, this knife is very comfortable. The blade is not crowned, and so it is, as you can hear, a little sharp along this edge. The one place you want a knife to be sharp is here, and it is. They've done a good job with the grind. Let's see if I can make that pop in the light. There, the grind is even. And the same across both sides, which is very nice coming from Kershaw. I really like this thing. Now, it's a little over 5 ounces, which is a lot for a 3.5-inch blade, but it is a steel frame liner lock. I mean, steel frame lock, excuse me. I know what I'm doing. There is no jimping on the lock bar, but it is raised. See that? So your thumb slides to it very naturally, and it just closes when you want it to. I hope there is a lot more of this coming from Kershaw. I like Kershaw as a company. I do. Their American-made stuff is fantastic. Their overseas-made stuff has been less so. But I feel like the build quality from their American-made stuff is making it back over to their overseas-made stuff, and that makes me very, very happy. There is a market for Kershaw. There is a market for good D2 knives like this from Kershaw, and I hope very much that this is the beginning, and not just a sort of a fluke, of them really moving into a direction where not only do they still make the $25 and $30, let's call them Big Five knives, you know, sporting goods store knives, but also, you know, $60 and $70 higher end, or at least better blade steel knives with really good designs. And that's exactly what this is. The Kershaw Norad, a complete surprise, and a really good one at that. Let's go ahead and get some specs out of the way with the old calipers, just because I enjoy doing it. We'll do the grip size first. Right here at the thickest point, we are coming in at just under 1/2 inch, as you can see, 0.434 inches. If we move this over to millimeters, let's do the blade stock. Now back here at its thickest point, we are 3.32 millimeters, which is a decent thickness of blade. It comes to a very sharp edge, but I'm not going to say it's really thin behind the edge. In fact, just my completely scientific experience, this is pretty thick behind the edge. But because they've done the grind very well and consistently along the entire length of the blade, this thing cuts like a real champ. So what do you get for your 70 bucks? Well, you get an interesting design with multiple deployments from a well-known company in good materials that happens to be super attractive also. Let's weigh it out. I know that it's a little over 5 ounces, but let's find out exactly how much over 5 ounces. Now, for some of you, that's a deal breaker. I recognize that. But I carry big knives, and I don't mind a little weight in the pocket. And I am going to carry this thing. Yep, 5.2 ounces. So it is not a lightweight. But I can tell you, you're not going to be able to see this, but I'm looking in here. The scales are milled. They really are. Do you know what I would love to see? I would love to see Kershaw release a titanium version of this. Even in D2, bring the price up another 25 bucks, bring it up to about 100 bucks. If they made this in titanium with this D2 blade, man, I would be all over that. But since they haven't, and since this is what we get, I am going to stick with my initial assessment that this is a really great offering from Kershaw. Well, what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments. I guess that's it for now. This is the Kershaw Norad, and this is what I hope is the start of something really good for them. God, that blade is just beautiful. Are they going to be collector's pieces? No. I mean, people do collect Kershaw, and if you do, definitely look one of these up. But will this change their standing in the market? Yeah, it might. It just might. I know that it's changed the way I think about Kershaw a little bit. And hopefully it'll do the same for you. We're going to go ahead and wrap up. I'll get some pocket time on this and come back and tell you what I think. I'll let you know if these little carbon fiber stickery inlay things have become a real problem or not. I'll let you know what it's like to carry and use this thing more down the road a bit. But for now, this has been the Kershaw Norad. I have been a Therapeutic Edge. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.